Hey everybody, it's Morgan and I'm finally here with my January wrap up and my what should I read picks for the month. So I will start off with the books that I read in January, and the first two books I do not have with me. They are Paper Girls Volume 1 and 2. These are volumes of comic books. It follows a group of 12-year-old girls who are paper girls, and one day they have encountered like an alien invasion, and some weird stuff happens where they run into some of their future selves or whatever. It is so hard to explain because I'm still trying to wrap my head around what is exactly going on. They haven't really stated what exactly is going on. It's been 2 volumes, but multiple comic issues in each book. I gave them about 3.5 stars each. I think the second volume was a little bit better than the first. And I'll probably continue to pick those up. When it comes to short graphic novels and stuff like that, I wasn't necessarily convinced to buy Paper Girls, so I literally just read them while I was at work and in between me finishing a couple other books. So yeah, I probably will read volume 3 when it comes out to see if they finally say what the heck is going on. I feel like they're trying to make some type of social commentary about like history and the present colliding and causing problems. It's also by Brian K. Vaughan, who is the maker of Saga and my other comic favorite, Y: The Last Man, which was a really good series. But yeah, alright, so let's Paper Girls. If you want something like feminist, if you want something like that, it's definitely a feminist comic book. If you're interested, I suggest in picking those up from your library. I don't necessarily think there's something you need to own unless you're super into them, or you want to keep the artwork because the artwork is beautiful. The color scheme is awesome. All right, so into the books that I own. The first book that I actually finished coming out of 2016 into 2017 is You Can't Touch My Hair and Other Things I Still Have to Explain by Phoebe Robinson. You might know her. She's a comedian. She has a show or a podcast called Two Dope Queens with Jessica Williams, who used to be on The Daily Show. She is also coming out with a new podcast with Alana Gazler. I always mess up her last name. She's from Broad City, the TV show. Those two have a podcast coming out. But back to the book. I gave it about 4 stars. And I give it like a solid 4. At first, I was afraid that it was going to be a little bit too pop culture-ish. Because that's part of it. It's like pop culture and, talking about being a black woman. However, her pieces, they were entertaining. They were a bit funny, but when she really hits the nail on the head, she really hits the nail on the head about certain social commentary about being a black woman. I also appreciate her commentary on being a black woman comedian and some of the trials and tribulations she has gone through in the entertainment industry. Personally, I have not read any memoirs or any maybe fictional books that focus on that part of black womanhood, or like a black woman in that profession, I should say. So I think if you're interested in that, this is definitely worth picking up. There were some moments that fell flat for me. Like I said, certain cultural sections. There's like a chapter in here that's mostly about pop culture. Let me see what it's called really quick. It is called A Brief History of Black Hair in Film, TV, Music, and Media. It was okay, but I felt like that was a little boring to me. I'm not sure why. Maybe because I'm familiar with most of the people she was in hairstyle she was talking about. I'm not sure. The last one, the letters to her niece, also kind of fell flat for me as well. But other than that, it was a really good collection of essays, and if I'd encourage people to read it. All right, The next one is The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. Majority of the people who watch this channel already know about my year with Morrison. Definitely still gave it 5 stars. Definitely still one of my favorite books. A review is coming on this very soon. Should be up the same day this video is up. And I feel like I understand something different from this book every time I read it. So more to come on that. The next one I finished, which was actually the last book I finished in the month of January, is The Book of Night Women, and this is the first book that you all picked for me to read out of the 5 books I displayed to read in January. Gave it 4 stars. A review is coming on this. I don't want to say too much because I do not want to spoil the review, but I think you guys made a good choice. That's all I'll say here. And my next one is a book I read in between, like Book of Night Women and Bluest Eye. And that's why it took me a little bit of time to finish the Book of Night Women, because I just wanted to hurry up and get into Difficult Women by Roxane Gay. This is her latest collection of short stories. I probably won't do a review on this. I have another idea for a review coming up eventually. I gave this 4 stars as well. I can't say that I remember all of the stories, like every single detail or every name. I actually buddy read this with my friend Crystal. She was actually much better at remembering names of stories and stuff than I was. However, the stories that stuck out to me the most really stayed with me, and I cannot say that there is a poorly written story anywhere in this book. She is definitely a writer. If you ever get to, I think she did teach at a school once. I'm not sure if she's still teaching, but if you ever got to take a writing class with this woman, I highly suggest it. Even though I was not interested in all the stories she wrote in this book, I cannot say they were poorly written. They were excellent. I think if you're a writer, she is somebody you should study, and study her writing style, and understand how she's so good at like honing in on emotion. One thing that me and Crystal did talk about with this book is that we thought it would be more centered on Black women because Roxane Gay is a Black woman. However, Crystal pointed this out when she read Bad Feminist, that Roxane Gay, even though she mentions race in Bad Feminist, that's not the focus of her feminism, and that's not the focus of this book. Some of these stories, it was very clear the race. She made the race clear in a few of these stories when it was important. Other times when she didn't, I imagine that she was, or the main character was white, due to some of the features that she described with some of the women, and maybe some of the lack of description. I don't know if that is just me maybe projecting on how I think a Black woman should be writing. And I don't know if that's exactly what like Roxane Gay might be doing. She didn't want race to maybe be an issue for most of these stories. She just kind of wanted to see like lives of women. However, sometimes when we think women, even myself, sometimes I strictly think of white women. So maybe that's something I need to work on as a reader, just as a person in general. So yeah, I would definitely suggest people pick this up. I greatly enjoyed these short stories. I read them in a couple days. So my final read that I'm going to show you for the month of January is Kindred by Octavia Butler. I gave her graphic novel 4 stars. I did not read Kindred, the original novel, before I read this. I read Kindred years ago. However, I will link Musical Tati's review in the bottom bar below. She is one of the people I see who took the time out to read both in the same time frame pretty much. and she did a really good review. I will say that I still did like the graphic novel, even though I think in the original novel I focused more on Dana and her husband's relationship, where I focus on the complexities of Alice the slave and Rufus, her slave master's relationship, and how ugly and complicated the possible romantic love between a slave master and slave could be. That is not without to say that slaves did not have consent, thus any type of sexual encounter between them and their slave master is rape on the slave master's behalf. Slaves were property, thus not having any rights to consent to their own bodies, thus any type of, even if they were totally down for any type of sexual activity, it's rape, because they simply cannot consent legally. So, just seeing that relationship play out was difficult for me, and how to classify it in certain parts of the book. And I think they did a good job of showing how complex that relationship was and throwing Dana in the mix, because Alice and Rufus' relationship is part of the reason why Dana was in a way pulled back in time. So, yeah. That was what I read in January. Now to move on to the books that I would like you guys to vote on for me to read this month. Here are the 3 books I picked out. The first one is The Turner House by Angela Forney. This is about a black family in Detroit. There's supposed to be a few paranormal or magical realism elements in this book. However, it's not a horror book. It's not really a paranormal book. It's just the element in the plot. I thought about this book again back when I was watching a Britt Bennett interview, and the person interviewing her mentioned how there aren't many books that highlight just your average black life, like every day in a black life or black family, like Britt Bennett's, and they brought up The Turner House. And I have not heard a bad review about this book yet. The next one is Salvage the Bones by Jesmyn Ward, which is also about another black family in Mississippi. The oldest daughter is a teenager, and she has to prepare her family for what is Hurricane Katrina that is coming their way. Mississippi was also one of the states that was hit hard by Hurricane Katrina, even though a lot of us focused on the damage that it did in New Orleans. This focuses on like being poor black in the South and, you know, dealing with Hurricane Katrina. If you're familiar with my channel, you know that I love Jesmyn Ward, and I'm pretty sure this won the National Book Award the year it came out. And my last book, I ended up buying this month, and it came out, well, not this month, in January when it came out, and it is The Meaning of Michelle, 16 Writers on the Iconic First Lady and How Her Journey Inspires Our Own. It was edited by Veronica Chambers. This collection has some essays done by some people I read on the regular, like Brittany Cooper, who is a journalist at Rutgers, and Damon Young. He does verysmartbrothers.com, and if you have not read that website, it is hilarious. They put a bit of a funny comedic spin on topics of today, and they talk about black life a lot. So for Black History Month, I thought these would be good reads, and they are books that I actually want to read this month. They aren't just books that I felt like, oh, well, they're sitting on my shelf. Let me just grab them really quick to see what people will pick. I will also like to let you know that to vote for what book I will read and review for February, please leave a comment on YouTube. I will also be posting a picture of them on Instagram and be taking votes there, because there are some people who don't necessarily really watch my YouTube videos, but they do, or, you know, look at my Instagram pictures, and so I just wanted to open it up to that social media platform as well. Last month, a lot of people on both platforms voted for the Book of Night Women, so I'm kind of feel like there might be a similarity in that this month. Who knows? So thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys soon, recording another video after this, and you guys have a good day. Bye.